Today we're starting on chapter 8, which is all about cell membranes. We're talking right now about the cell membrane structure so we can understand how the cell survives, and our success criteria for now is being able to describe the properties and structure of a phospholipid. So you might remember from last chapter that the cell membrane is made up of a bunch of chemicals known as phospholipids, and they form this kind of double layer. The reason for this is that cells need a really specific environment to survive. So we can make an analogy to fish here. You can't stick a freshwater fish into salt water and expect it to live in most cases. There are some fish that can go between them. If the cell is different from what it needs to survive, the cell is going to die. Just like putting the freshwater fish in salt water, putting a tropical fish in cold water, or putting a saltwater fish in fresh water. It's a hostile environment that they're not adapted for. So the cell membrane is really important because it actually helps to create the environment within the cell that's necessary for it to live. The way it does that is it controls the materials that can move in and out of the cells. And there's actually lots of different ways that cells can do that. We're going to talk about these throughout the entire chapter. The flow of matter between a cell and its environment makes the cell an open system. An open system is any system where matter can be exchanged. A closed system is a system where matter cannot be exchanged, but energy can be. And then an isolated system is a system where neither energy nor matter can move around. So a cell acts as an open system, but that doesn't just mean it lets anything in. The membrane itself is made up of a double layer of phospholipids, which you can see on the image on the last slide. You have one phospholipid bilayer on the top and you have one on the bottom. These phospholipids form the core structure of the cell membrane, and then we also have different proteins as well as some carbohydrates embedded on them or attached to them or going through the entire cell membrane itself. Now, a phospholipid is a type of fat, and just like other fats and other lipids like oil, it does not dissolve in water. And that's really important because you might remember that most of our body actually is made out of water. Phospholipids are a bit more nuanced than other fats, though. They actually have two ends to them. They have what we call a hydrophilic end and a hydrophobic end. And the reason that that's important is that bilayer you see in the cell membrane is actually something that phospholipids will spontaneously form. The hydrophilic end, it means water loving. And what that really means is it's capable of dissolving water. But the hydrophobic end isn't. It does not dissolve in water. So the head is water soluble and the tails are water insoluble. And just like trying to mix oil and water or vinegar and oil, the two of them don't mix very well. So all of those hydrophilic heads, they're going to want to go towards the water. And all of the hydrophobic tails are going to want to go towards other lipids, other things that are not water soluble. And what that means is that they typically end up arranging so that the tails are pointing towards each other. And that's why we get that double bilayer that's top and bottom, because you have phospholipids with the heads pointing outwards and then the tails pointing inwards, so that all of the hydrophobic bits can stay away from the water and all of the hydrophilic bits can attach to the water. This means that they will spontaneously arrange themselves into a phospholipid bilayer. And that's actually really important because that allows the phospholipids to move around but not break the cell membrane. It gives it an actual container, a layer that can act as a gateway, allowing chemicals to move in and out of the cell. So we get this double bilayer spontaneously. It will not break apart on its own because all of these fatty acid tails constantly want to stick together, and then our hydrophilic phosphate and nitrogen groups at the end want to dissolve in the water. So you get water on the outside, you get water on the inside, and then you get the phospholipids separating the two of them in between.